Hey everybody, welcome to Saturday night. Uh Here we are. Hold on a sec. Got a private message. Check that right. See what we got. Oh, okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. Well, welcome to the show. Tonight, it sounds like our subject is not going to be, fit our title. It's not going to fit our kind of our theme of cryptids and conspiracies, except that there is a very significant conspiracy here that I'm going to talk about. But first of all, let me bring on my partners in crime. I'm going to start.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap!
Hello. Good evening.
Welcome to the show.
Everyone? Thank you for having us.
Doing good. Hey.
Good.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. All right.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, lovely.
All right. I guess I gotta. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
It's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that.
Welcome.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Greetings.
Hello.
Well, we did have Will here earlier from Creators Outlet.
All right.
There.
Hello, Will.
Hello.
Cool. Yep.
Okay. Captain Finity is here. Welcome.
The captain.
Hey.
Ahoy.
Okay. All right. So I know we got a high British, collection of people who tend to drop in from time to time, especially with your channels. And we got a Scottish man right here. Anyway.
Yep.
Mr. Cool.
So tonight we're going to talk about the time the British Empire got their butt kicked. So it didn't happen very often.
Nope.
Around this time, the British Army kind of like was conquering the world.
We let you win.
Yeah, there you go.
They let us win.
There you go. We let you win. There you go. Okay, so the British were kind of having their way in the Americas. The ragtag Continental Army was not very well organized. They were not very well trained. They were basically civilians that were suddenly up against the most disciplined and well-trained army in the world. And they didn't fare well at first. Don't mention the Zulu War.
The Zulu War. Yeah, there we go.
Well, well,
or the Boer.
This is actually before the Zulu War by a little while. Anyway,
a little bit.
Yeah, this is the biggest butt kicking before that one. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So what happened was there you go. Well, what happened was so the Cornwallis, who was like the main general of the British Army, decided for the Southern campaign. He had just kicked butt all over the North, and so they still had to subdue these southern colonies because that was where most of the money-making potential was, because of the cotton and tobacco and things like that, and slaves. Slaves. Anyway, slave labor. That was where a lot of the economic force was. B-Dog, hey.
B-Dog.
All right, B-Dog.
All right. Well, the thing about it is rather than they didn't feel like they needed to take the southern colonies seriously, so they decided to stock their numbers with what's called loyalists. Other people call them Tories. And they were basically people who lived in the colony, who had their, allegiance to English, the England, to the King George. And so they got a bunch of them together to fill out their armies, which a lot of people thought were turncoats. It's kind of like a civil war before the Civil War. And there was a guy down here called Ballister Tarleton. And he was such an asshole. Oh my gosh, he was an asshole.
How big of an asshole was he?
Well, there's something they called Tarleton's Quarter. And the reason they called it that, it was sarcasm, because Tarleton showed no quarter. And he murdered and butchered and burned whole entire villages to the ground if there was any kind of insinuation that they might be supporting the Continental Army.
Wow, sounds like a nice chap.
Yeah, lovely guy. He was kind of a young officer. He was very arrogant. He was was connected up the wazoo to the royal family, and he.
Well.
Okay, well, he was there, and there was another Major Ferguson. Let me get the Ferguson.
Major Patrick Ferguson. He never left the mountain.
Well, those two did not get along. Okay, Patrick Ferguson thought Bart Ballister was arrogant prick and a monster, and he was dignified. Go ahead.
He was Scottish. Ferguson was Scottish.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, but Ferguson was the better.
And not related to the crown.
Yeah.
No.
He had to get there by his own meritocracy, and he was a very good.
He had to work his ass off to get
general.
What he got.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, though, is the thing that Tarleton managed to do is he managed to tick off a certain group of people. Now, early in the colony's history, early in American history, everybody wasn't connected. Okay, everybody was, they were like nominally organized into states, and there's like basically around North Carolina, and like the western part of North Carolina, right on the edge of the wilderness, a whole group of people had kind of like carved a notch right there in that part of it's like there's parts of North Carolina where you can stand in 3 different states. And around in that area, what's later Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and that little area there, a whole group of people had kind of like said, basically had an agreement with the government, the state governments, that if you leave us alone when you need us, we'll come and help. But if you mess with us, then you'll be our enemy. And these people were veterans of the French and Indian War. They were basically hunter fishermen. They had achieved a peace, or at least a détente with the Cherokee Indians, which were huge at that time, and they kind of were living in harmony out there, and they basically were like, don't start none, won't be none.
So
and
would I be right in thinking they're probably
FAFO people?
They're probably not the people you want to mess with. Would I be right in thinking that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the state governments chose not to.
How'd that go?
Yeah. There you go. Well, there you go.
Yes, me dog.
Well,
they do.
So basically, they didn't even ask these people to. They didn't even ask these people to pay taxes.
Went silent. We can't hear you.
Right. What?
I'm sorry.
Nope.
I'm still seeing.
Or is it my mic?
I can hear Bunny.
I'm still seeing. You can't hear me?
I hear you.
No. Oh, you can hear me? Okay.
I can.
All right, it's just Wookie. All right.
I heard Wookie. I heard what Wookie was saying as well. So.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So I'm going to continue like Wookie can hear me. I don't know. Anyway. Okay. So the state governments basically left them to themselves. They didn't even ask for taxes from these people. They just basically left them alone. And because it was just like, these are not people that, it's kind of like a benefit to cost ratio, right? There are certain things that if you were to pursue it are going to cost you way more than if you left it alone. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
And the cost benefit analysis did not in any way, shape, or form equal messing with these people in any way, shape, or form. And but Ballister, Tarleton, and Patrick Ferguson, they had no such compunctions. And so on several occasions, they raised a village or two that were associated with these people. And basically, Ferguson in particular got a whole bunch of loyalists together, several thousand loyalists, and said, "Okay, we're gonna take these people out. We can't have these, hillbillies out here messing around." Because the hillbillies had fought back a couple times and very effectively. They wiped out a garrison right on the edge of, right on the edge of the wilderness there. They'd wiped out a loyalist garrison. And so Ferguson's like, okay, we're going to wipe these people out because we're the British Army. That's what we do.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, and so he decided to camp at a place called Kings Mountain, which is on the right before you got to the South Carolina border. And he said, "God Himself cannot take me down off this mountain. Let me show you where Ferguson is today."
Welcome back. Tonight's Tennessee Treasure technically is not in Tennessee. It's not even close, but it has a strong Tennessee influence. During the course of history, when you think of Tennesseans coming to the aid of others, you immediately think the Alamo, right? But tonight, an even earlier example of the volunteer spirit is what we want to focus on. Just under 3.5-hour drive from Knoxville is the Revolutionary War battlefield at Kings Mountain, located near the North and South Carolina line. A key battle for the Patriots in the war's Southern theater. And key to that victory were the over-the-mountain men, led by such familiar names as John Sevier and John Ray of Tennessee and Isaac Shelby of Kentucky, among others. The three would help lead the band of Tennesseans, along with some Virginians, Kentuckians, and North Carolinians. Their efforts immortalized in the monuments that now appear across the battlefield. Unfortunately, for John Sevier, his brother Robert would be mortally wounded in the battle.
Right.
No, did you see the nice little gravestone? Did you read it?
Yeah. Sorry, I was in the private chat. I just missed it.
You just missed it?
I just missed it. Yeah.
All right. Patrick Ferguson's name is on the tombstone.
Yeah. Sorry, but I was just in the private chat. Wookie's having tech issues with StreamYards or something. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll continue on. Unfortunately, for anybody that was hoping to hear Wookie munching through the show, and
I'm sure
occasionally
he is now,
blurting
so.
out. Yeah,
I'm sure he's
and occasionally blurting out the exact same thing that I just said like 2 minutes ago because of his ADHD. Oh, Abby! Oh,
it's the other one that's not here currently. Well, there you go. All right, Abby.
Well, he has other we tend to overlook his problems with tech.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So there you go. Well, there's a movie that kind of showed a little while ago that kind of summed up a little bit about this. So here's I've never seen this movie, but it kind of sums up what was at stake. So let me play that right quick.
Cool.
The regulators are making plans to stand against the governor. Do you think it's possible for them to make a difference in all this?
I'm not certain, but I plan to join them.
I just pray husband's negotiations work.
You're afraid we will lose tomorrow?
No. I only fear what we may witness.
I want the leaders who are responsible for this to be hunted down and hanged for treason. I want names. Leaders. Do not stop until these men are found.
All the regulators are liars! You and every other man that led us into this mess.
We suffered a defeat. It's as plain as that. I do not know what lies beyond these mountains. These may be our last days, our last hours. If we die, if I die, I will have died for a purpose that I may never truly realize. A hope that one day men will not be ruled by kings, nor governed by tyrants, that the heirs of this land will be self-governing, independent, not taxed, but liberated by the opportunity to work and to prosper by the sweat of their brow. God sent his Son into the world to die, that I might have life. And in the darkest hours of death, he proved that there is no enemy strong enough when God's will deems otherwise. If death be the price of freedom, then by God's hand I will give tenfold to afford my children's children such practice.
My father always said that we do not own our family name. Our family name owns us. That we should use our life to honor the name we belong to. And that included our faith in God and our freedom.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. Well, basically, we're talking pretty high stakes here. That, we're talking about subjugation. We're talking about all right. But we're talking about basically a group of people who were living free in a way that nobody else in the colonies were. I mean, they were like unto themselves. They were pretty much America before America. They were already living free of British rule, free of state rule. They were pretty much on their own, and they have carved a carved a notch out of the wilderness for themselves, and they were kind of pushed, and they fought back and took out a garrison, and basically Ferguson's like, okay, we're going to end this threat once and for all, and he took several thousand Tories, loyalists into the wilderness of North Carolina, and determined that he was just gonna wipe these people out because they were rabble. They were,
Can you
uneducated.
imagine?
Yeah, they're uneducated. Go ahead.
Can you imagine how much these free folk would love how things are today, with the government overreach and all that?
Well, I imagine that they're rolling over in their graves. I imagine that there's a groaning from Kings Mountain going on.
You idiots!
We fought for this shit. What? Well, but think about it. This is Ferguson had a reputation. I mean, he's a Highlands. He was, a Scottish man whose ability on the battlefield had raised him to major status without being blood connected, which was meritocracy. In terms of meritocracy, that's not somebody to screw with. And
No.
and he was chasing Shelby's men into the mountains there, basically. And they were like, they went up the King's Mountain to stage to dive into these back countries and just wipe out what they found there. And what they didn't know was that several men had gotten together. The ringleaders was John Sevier, William Campbell, James Johnston, Joseph McDowell was one of them, Benjamin Cleveland, Isaac Shelby was a big one. And they were basically getting all these like unconnected communities. They put out a call to these unconnected communities, and there was like a very like tenuous connection between all of them. But they were all like in agreement. Okay, if you need us, because they were out there among the Indians. If the Indians decided to try to wipe them out, they had to get together.
Yeah.
And so they had those connections, and so they basically put the call out, and right that way, about 15 miles from me is a place called Quaker Meadows, and in Quaker Meadows, one group of those people gathered to collect over. Let's see, where is it? What's the name of the place? They collected at Musgrove's Mill, I think. But Sycamore Shoals. That's where they collected. Yeah. And they decided, and they went over the mountain to King's Mountain, and basically, what Ferguson didn't realize is that they were trained by the Indians in the French and Indian War. And so the Indians, what do you know about Indian warfare? Anybody want to fill me in what they know about Indian warfare?
Not much.
No, okay.
It's guerrilla warfare.
It's guerrilla warfare.
It's hit and run tactics.
Yeah.
And my frickin' earphones finally work. Thank you, StreamYards, you POS.
Yeah. I did imagine it was guerrilla warfare. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Robot Man. All right. Well, they basically they were not going to fight out in the open. They were going to hide behind every tree they could hide behind, and they were going to hit and run. They didn't have any. They didn't believe in honor. They just believed in victory. And the British, they had all these self-imposed rules, about how they're going to stand. They were going to, how they would fire, and then the next group would fire, and then everybody stands there and fires at each other.
Regimental warfare.
And basically, well, yeah, exactly. And they also had something called the Kentucky long rifle.
Yes.
Which the British did not have, because they're a bunch of hunters. And the Kentucky long rifle was developed in Kentucky, hence the name. And it had about at least. Go ahead.
The Kentucky long rifle was one of the first rifled barrels, which enabled it to be fired from longer distances and maintain an extremely good accuracy. Versus the Brown Bess that the British were using, which was a smooth bore, and outside of 100 yards was not as effective as a Kentucky long rifle. They could pick them off at 300 and 400 and 500 yards away, and not know what the hell hit them.
Yeah.
I could see why that might be a problem.
So
it's essentially using a blunderbuss as opposed to a sniper rifle.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, so what the Ferguson didn't even know they were under attack until people started dropping. And then he's like, oh, okay, we're doing this. We're doing this, okay. And so he collected everybody in their nice little polite rows, and he got everybody like organized. He was, running around with a whistle in his mouth, getting everybody all, organized and everything. And let me play this here. This sums it up right here. So, yeah, this one here. Okay.
It's one of the most overlooked battles of the American Revolution. The 1780 Battle of Kings Mountain, which took place on the North Carolina-South Carolina border, is a turning point which will start the inevitable downfall of the British Empire in North America. Overall British command in the South was turned over to Lord Charles Cornwallis. Cornwallis, in turn, will have two key aides with him, Banastre Tarleton and Patrick Ferguson. Ferguson, who will do battle at Kings Mountain, was a career British officer. His job is to go out into the countryside to rally loyalist troops. He's told to bring in 4,000 loyalists, and to do so he must go into the taverns, into the squares, the churches, and meet with the people. At first, Ferguson is very successful in bringing men and women over to the British cause, the loyalist cause, as it were. A British force at Musgrove's Mill will be bloodily defeated, and Ferguson is sent into a rage, and he will send out word that he will take down any Patriot forces with fire and sword, thus incensing the Patriot forces, leading to an uprising in the South, unforeseen to this point. In an area today known as Tennessee, will be men known as the OverMountain men. Simply, they lived over the Blue Ridge Mountains in the Tennessee area. These men were threatened by Ferguson and his fire and sword decree. Together, Isaac Shelby and John Sevier will bring together over 1,000 mountain men and settlers. These folks will get together at a place called Sycamore Shoals on September 25th of 1780. Their target will be Patrick Ferguson and 1,000 loyalists marching towards Charlotte, North Carolina. The loyalists will camp at a place called Kings Mountain, which is a place where many people will stop their cattle to graze, and it's a good watering hole. Unbeknownst to Ferguson, the over-the-mountain men were making their way towards his encampment atop Kings Mountain. In early October, the over-the-mountain men, riding their horses and bringing their Kentucky long rifles, will dismount and start to encircle Kings Mountain. Atop it will be Ferguson with his 1,000 loyalists. Without support, Ferguson's men will be an easy target. Moving up the hillside, the Patriot forces will close in on Ferguson and his men. Ferguson will order a bayonet charge down the side of Kings Mountain. This will push back the Patriots, but will not deter them. Up the hill once again will come the Patriot forces. And as they do so, Ferguson will be spied by about 9 men who will fire shots at him. 7 will find their mark. Wearing a flannel shirt and told what Ferguson looks like, he was an easy target. Atop a horse, sword in one hand, whistle in his mouth, giving orders with that whistle. Where Colonel Williams will come up to Ferguson, lean down, and in a last defiant act, Ferguson will draw a pistol and fire it into Williams. Williams' men will deliver the coup de grace and kill Patrick Ferguson atop Kings Mountain. Backwoods justice will be served in this now very close-on civil war. Loyalist versus Patriot, neighbor versus neighbor. 36 of the 800 captives will be tried and sentenced to death. 9 of them will actually be hanged. As the over-the-mountain men go home, their war is over. But they've sent a message to loyalists throughout the South. Do not rise up. This will be the justice fettered out by patriots. 12 months later, starting with this chain at Kings Mountain, the British and American forces will find themselves at Yorktown. And there, the British force under Lord Cornwallis will surrender to George Washington, essentially ending the American Revolution.
Hello, not Brian.
Not
How you
Brian.
doing?
Hey.
So, some interesting footnotes to Ferguson's men and where his encampment was. The whole point of this stream is that there were the American first special forces. Well, special forces also have intelligence. So you have operatives, agents, or scouts, which go out and reconnoiter, spy on the enemy, find out their strengths, weaknesses, weak points, and just get some daily information on schedules and things like that, down to where they're getting their food to eat. And that's kind of what happened with leading up to the OverMountain men, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there were 1,800 of them versus 1,000 of the Redcoats. And of course, this was a culmination of the 1,800 men were from different militias from different states or territories. So they had a young man, a kid, basically, go into a camp, one of their camps, and actually spoke to some of the commanders there under Ferguson, and wanted to tag along because he was afraid. He sold it. He said he was afraid of the Patriots, and he really wanted to feel safe and wanted to hang out with these guys. And so apparently they let him tag along.
Yeah.
In doing so, they also had other guys that were out and about. And once they got up to Kings Mountain and they laid an encampment there, some other guys from the other side found out through a couple ladies who actually saw them go up there, actually knew exactly where they were because they took them food. They were like the Uber Eats of the delivery service for the food, and they told them everything that these guys wanted to know. These gals did. So you had all this information, and then you have the 1,800 militiamen, the OverMountain men, and others that pretty much just laid waste to Ferguson and his men.
Well, when you think about special forces, you think of people who are highly trained, independent of the military, and usually they are ruthless and deadly, and essentially they are the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Now, that's one of the things that America. Yeah.
Weren't the Hickens?
Yeah, right. Yeah, they were until
Washington
but see,
took them out.
Well, the thing about it was Washington was inspired by the Battle of Kings Mountain.
Yeah.
When Thomas Jefferson called this the turning of the tide, because up to this point the British were doing whatever the heck they wanted to.
Yeah, they were kicking the colonial army's ass.
Yeah.
But the thing that these guys did that colonial army didn't was they basically they didn't play the British game.
No.
They were more interested. They're like, okay, this is our freedom at stake here. We're not going to mess around and take them on their own terms. Obviously, we can't compete when we take them on their own terms, and so we're going to change we're going to kick the game over. We're going to we're going off road here. We're going to we're going to do a new kind of warfare.
Yeah.
And essentially
the thing is though that here someone told me this a long time ago. Someone told me this a long time ago. They said that there's only one rule in a fight, and that is cheat
to win. And so whatever these mountain men, these trappers, these hunters, they were used to fighting the Indians. And of course the Indians did it their way. Sneaky, traps, hiding in trees, hiding behind rocks, all these different types of skirmishes that they had with the Indians. And they learned from that. Some of them actually, became friends with them. So they learned how to do things their way. And that's what they used against the British. And it pretty much just,
it sounds like they studied The Art of War by Sun Tzu or something like that.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's kind of, there's some parallels, I'm sure, in the
know the
philosophy
enemy, know the enemy, and know thyself.
Yeah, and so there's kind of some parallels in that. They may not be directly connected, but there's parallels through trial and error.
Let me tell you what happened to Ferguson, okay? Well, Ferguson was rallying his troops. He's blowing this whistle. He's actually got a different color coat from everybody else, just like, hey, I'm a target, right? And so somebody plugs him with a Kentucky long rifle. He gets drugged behind his horse all the way to the Patriot line. And one of the Patriot, so one of the Patriot officers, goes to him to demand his surrender. This asshole pulls a loaded pistol out of his coat and shoots the guy, kills him, and then promptly 7 men unloaded the Kentucky long rifles into his body.
Yeah,
7. I mean, think of the accuracy that takes.
Yeah,
I mean, the accuracy to hit one guy 7 times in the chest.
Good measure.
Yeah. I mean,
was he okay?
Well,
did he live?
Well, he had a lot of O's in him, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, that means that they not only people immediately, at him, shot him, but people like from further off shot him, and basically nobody crossed their lines of sight. They were that accurate. Okay.
Well, he was practically bloodletting. That's what he was. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, he asked for it. I mean, rather than surrender,
death by lead poisoning.
I mean, this guy, rather than surrender, he took one with him.
Well,
but
you gotta admit,
they killed the hell out of him.
You gotta admit, the guy's got some brass balls because, here he is. He got shot already, knocked off his horse, caught in the freaking stirrups or reins or whatever. He's dragged behind his freaking horse, who's freaking out. Gets to the enemy lines. Mm-hmm. He's laying there. Enemy soldier comes up and says, "Do you surrender?" And he's like, "Yeah, fuck you." Pulls his pistol out. One shot. He hits the guy, but then he gets off. I mean, that's the way to go.
And the Patriots all look at each other like, "Did he just do that?" And they're all like,
"Did he just do that?" But yeah, he had some balls. I mean, really, he did. I mean, you have to admire the guy for that. I mean,
Well, they tried to surrender, and they're like, "We're going to give you Tarleton's quarter." And so they kept shooting. They kept shooting and kept just mowing down people, even though they're waving white flags because screw Tarleton. And eventually they're like, no, hold off. And so after they got them to allow them to surrender, they still hung a bunch of them. Yeah, but then they still hung a bunch of them for basically turning on the the country, turning on the America, burgeoning country, and then what they did though is set out this warning to all loyalists that if you rise up, if you interfere again with what's happening with this country being formed, we will come for you.
Yeah, and
so they believed it. And after that was the end of the loyalist, involvement in the war, which was what was allowing the British to have it up their hand. Yeah, and that's what one thing that Special Forces does is Special Forces screws with people's heads. I mean that's part of the Bible that Special Forces if they can make people paranoid enough that. Go ahead.
Unless they think Washington's colonial army is not going to attack on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
But it's
well. Go ahead.
Eccentric in the chat says, "I'm no historical scholar, but didn't the Minutemen take out the British officers so the troops were all disorganized?" Yep. Yep. And Captain Affinity in the chat says, "A tactic adapted by the Viet Cong." Ironically enough, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Well, but see, up to this point, up to this point, they thought that we've Nathaniel Greene kept telling them, Nathaniel Greene was trained by the French, and so he was like, he kept telling them. He's like, we can't fight the way they fight. We got to find our own way of fighting. And then, but the people like, the people above him, including Washington, were like, no, we got to fight. We got to prove that we can beat them, at their own game. We got to prove that we're a nation. We got to have the same dignity that they fight with. But then when they saw these wilderness guys just say, screw this lining up and shooting at each other. We're gonna find cover. We're gonna shoot from behind trees, and we're gonna by any means necessary. We're gonna do this, and and they became the boogeyman.
Can they do that? Can they do that? They're doing it.
Let me check the rule book.
Let me check the rule book. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you have to understand, you look at it this way. Those trappers and hunters and pioneers that built frickin' homes with their bare hands, with the trees and everything around there, and bricks and stone, and had to fight the Indians and had to fight frickin' famine, had to fight to stay alive. Yeah. They've been through some shit, and then for these guys to come along and say, oh well, if you guys don't join us, we're gonna lay waste to your houses and your village and kill you and all this other shit. And they're like, yeah, fuck that. That ain't happening, Charlie. And that's what they did. They went up there and they pretty much just told him,
that's what
here's our
opinion.
opinion.
Fighting with the Indians because the British Army said he was way out there in Kentucky where no one could find him, and he built this, the settlement out there, and the British wanted him to work with them, and he wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so am I right in thinking that you're calling them a bunch of hardy bastards?
Yeah. It's exactly what they were.
Eccentric in the chat says they also dressed in neutral tones, like grays, browns, dark greens to blend in the trees and stuff. Yes,
they wore burlap.
Exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Camouflage. Who'd have thought?
Let's go like bright red and white around the
exactly.
Yeah, they'll never see us coming, lads. The bright red.
Can't see me. Can't see
British
me.
in their bright white and red uniforms. Yeah, they stuck out big time.
They had skin in the game. See these. These people that were trying to organize the country in these city centers, with their book learning and all this other stuff, they were basically like, we can always surrender and we can always go back to the way things were. But these wilderness guys, like, no, they aren't going to let us survive.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either liberty or death for us.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, and so what that did is it inspired Washington and these other officers. It's like, they're right. They're right. We've been playing things half measures. We've been thinking that there's a way back from where we're going, and they're absolutely right. There is no way back. There is no. We either live as a country or we die as criminals, and as and this is life or death proposition. And
just a little sidebar on our stream here, just to remind everybody, if you're in my chat or if you're over on Bunny's channel on his chat, don't forget to participate in the poll that we have going on. It's in the chat. It says the OverMountain Men, America's First Special Forces ? And so please participate. Give us an answer there, what you think on that poll, please. Back to you, Bunny.
Right. Okay, where the controversy comes in, where the conspiracy comes in. Why is this not common knowledge? Why are we not teaching this to every single school child in America? I mean, this battle is up there with Normandy. This battle is up there with any important battle we've ever had. Midway, it's up there with the Battle of New Orleans. It's up there with every important battle we've ever had. And basically, there's a blank, where people. They're like, oh yeah, I remember getting like, the Battle of Kings Mountain happened, the OverMountain Man, They defeated the British, and let's talk about Yorktown, or let's talk about Saratoga, or let's talk about. And the truth of the matter is, we would have never gotten to Yorktown or Saratoga if it wasn't for Kings Mountain.
Absolutely. So Acentric in the chat says the armies that are defending their homes always fight fiercer than invaders. Yeah, that's for sure. He also says because the LGBTQ and trans rights are more important.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yes.
Well.
Yes.
Well, okay. My housemate and his sisters, they're connected to the Dockeries, and they're also connected through Murphy's, and like some of these family from this area, they come from Murphy, North Carolina, and so basically they're connected to all these people, and their theory is why this is downplayed, why nobody wants to talk about it, why it's like we don't have these big to-dos, why there's no like big documentaries based on Kings Mountain. It's because most of the people that are connected to kicking ass and at Kings Mountain later fought for the Confederacy.
Yep. Oh. And I bet you, and also there's another brief war that a lot of Americans don't even know happened, and it spawned a term that for some might be considered derogatory or even an epithet, and that's the term redneck. A lot of people do not know the actual history of the term, where it came from, redneck. And it all has to do with the coal miner war in Virginia, West Virginia, which included the Pinkertons and the assassination of a freaking sheriff in front of a courthouse that was supporting those men, was in favor of those men. That happened at the turn of the century, 1900s. I'm not sure specifically the year, but that's where the term redneck came from. And of course, these were Southerners, people who were from Appalachia, veterans of wars. I think actually this probably took place right after the World War One. But yeah, the South, this like you said, Bunny, a lot of these guys.
I just heard about. Go ahead, keep going.
I was going to say that a lot of these guys that fought there, their ancestors fought for the Civil War. They fought. 80 years later, they fought for the Confederacy.
For the Confederacy.
And let's not forget that a whole ton of Indian tribes were also on the Confederacy side. And a lot of the things that happened to the Native Americans after the Civil War, like they're, hustling them onto reservations and shit, a lot of that happened because of their participation in the Civil War
by Andrew Jackson, who was the first Democratic president.
Yeah, that son of a bitch. That guy right there was a racist bastard. He's a great general, but he's a racist president bastard. He's a bastard.
Well, let me point this out. Who writes the histories? Who writes the histories?
The victors.
The victors, right? And so there was a move right after the Civil War happened to rewrite pretty much all of our history books to have like the Yankees, the Union Army as exclusively the heroes, and to paint the Confederacy as like a bunch of racist slave owners who, tried to destroy the country. And
Captain Infinity in the chat says Virginia itself is named after Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen.
Virgin Queen.
Yeah, he also said if history turned out differently, it may have been named
Slutia. Yes.
Slutia.
Well, it's strange that the Virgin Queen kept getting syphilis.
The fall of Constantinople was written by the losers.
Yeah. Well, so if the most pivotal moment in the Revolutionary War was a bunch of Southern rednecks got together and said no more, and this far no further, and kicked British ass, all the way back to Charlotte. That doesn't look I mean, that doesn't that kind of gives them a certain cachet, you know. It kind of gives them a right to the American, you know, formation. And I mean, all I hear is about the slave owners, the slave owners, the slave owners, the slave owners.
Well,
but
yeah, exactly. That's all you hear about: slavery, slavery, slavery. When in fact, the statistics show that only 3% of the total population in the South had owned, quote unquote, owned slaves.
Yeah.
And also,
that most of them were in Congress.
Yeah, and here's another thing too. A lot of people don't know is at the beginning of the
went back
Civil
to Congress.
War. Yeah, exactly. At the beginning of the Civil War,
And they were Democrats, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. At the beginning of the Civil War, a lot of the southern states, because they realized that they needed, they needed the bodies, they needed people to help, and there were people asking. Again, now you have to understand, a lot of these quote unquote slaves were part of families. They were actually like extended family members. I mean, hello, the rumors about Thomas Jefferson. Hello, okay, but
they're not rumors anymore.
Actually, a lot of those southern states started implementing laws, were passed in their legislature that freed those slaves and indentured servants. They made them citizens with equal rights before the Emancipation Proclamation. So the individual southern states started doing this before. Yeah. And so nobody knows about that stuff.
No.
Of course not.
No.
All they know about is Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves and blah, 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 blah. Hey, guess what? If he'd have lived, if John Wilkes Booth hadn't snuck up there and shot him in the back of the head, he was going to ship them all out.
To Liberia.
Yeah. Some godforsaken place. I mean, all of them.
Well, I mean, the bottom line, though, is that, we talk about special forces. We talk about America's military. The other day, when they had the 250-year anniversary of the American Army, I did not see a representation of Kings Mountain, the Over the Mountain boys. I didn't see a representation. They had everybody, except for them. I did not see a bunch of ragtag guys with Kentucky at long rifles wearing burlap. I didn't see that.
Yeah, technically, because they weren't United States, they weren't Continental Army. They were militia. They were independent men. They were militia.
Well, neither was the Continental Army. Neither was the Continental Army.
Yeah,
the Minutemen that weren't officially an army.
You know how government is. They like to fuck with people.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that if you want to talk about the rich history of the special forces in the United States, and we're talking about the Marines at Tripoli, we're talking about, all the secret organizations that were formed, like Francis Marion, and his raids and things like that. The Swamp Fox, we're talking about, if you want to talk about the people who really turned the tide, and it was turned in the Southern campaign. It wasn't turned in the Northern campaign. They had their way with the Northern campaign until they started getting their butt kicked in South, and then Nathaniel Greene and Washington said, okay, we're going to change tactics. That works. What they did works. What we've been doing is not working. And what they're doing, that's effective. And so they switch. And Washington, I don't know what Washington was thinking, because he was in the French and Indian War. He saw firsthand what happens, when everybody lines up and the other people are hiding behind trees, But he didn't switch his tactics until after the mountain men. These mountain men kicked British ass. And so that's my premise. So I'm going to check my poll right quick.
Yeah, I'm checking my poll too. So if you're in my chat and you haven't voted yet, please vote.
And that is POLL for all of you. You
and not the pole vault.
Is it a parkour pole?
It's a pole of the park.
No. Okay, I got one vote. All right. I got one vote. It's for confirmed. Okay.
Well, so far
That
I
must
have
been
2
Will
votes.
from earlier, so.
I have 2 votes. I have 1 confirmed and 1 in the middle.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually,
all right.
whoa. No, it's just changed. I have 2 votes
Okay.
for confirmed and 1 vote for in the middle.
Okay. All right. Okay. So
Okay,
that's
close it out.
3 confirmed, 1 in the middle. Okay.
So just on Francis Marion alone, the United States Army, the Rangers, the Ranger Regiment, they consider him the first Ranger.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
And they consider the Marines that went with John Paul Jones and took over the Ticonderoga. They consider them the first SEALs.
Yeah.
And the Marine Force Recon that took Tripoli. They're the first Marine Force Recon. I mean, it's just there. It's just there. But I'm just saying that. Anyway, so we got 3 confirmed and 1 in the middle. I'm going to add mine confirmed to that. What do you think, Abby?
I'd say confirmed.
Got to confirm from Abby. All right. Okay, Wookie, what do you think, man?
I'd say they are confirmed. The stuff that they did versus the norms of the day were definitely effective guerrilla tactics, guerrilla warfare.
All right. What do you think, Kroll?
Well, it certainly seems that they, I think, took a page out of the Art of War by Sun Tzu, based on what you've been saying. So, yeah, it could very well be the precursor to special forces and the like.
Yep. Actually,
confirmed.
Yeah. Thank you. The Patriot is based minutially. It's based partially on the Over the Mountain Men.
Really?
And Joseph Isaac's character was based on Ballister Tarleton.
Oh, he's always.
I thought Mel Gibson's character was based on Francis Marion. That's what they've said before in the past.
Yeah. It's he's kind of like shaped kind of like Francis Marion, but the way that they took out the British was like similar to Over Mountain Men. So
guerrilla warfare and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was very. Yeah, I mean, a lot of close quarters combat, a lot of tomahawks, things like that. A lot of those
ambushes and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Firing from behind trees, shooting people in the back. It doesn't matter,
pretty
man.
much.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Taking out officers, first thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All that matters is, am I still in
Take
charge
out the
at the end
leadership.
of the day? That's all that matters.
Take out the leadership. Everything
Yep.
else will fall apart.
And by the way, unfortunately, that's not accurate about Tarleton. He did he went back and lived a long life in England, the bastard. After doing all the horrible things that he did in America, he went back to England as successfully, and he's lauded to this day, and as like a great British officer asshole that he was. So,
well,
it is what it is. Sometimes the bad guys win. Hopefully,
he didn't get treated like that general in the Last of the Mohicans movie. Yeah.
No.
No.
It's nuts cut
Oh,
off.
good movie.
That's a great freaking movie.
I've seen
that
the
was
Patriot
actually
once.
Last of the Mohicans was actually filmed right over there.
Nice.
Nice.
That was a great
from my house.
Daniel
I could
Day-Lewis.
drive to where they
That's
were
good.
less than 15 minutes. So.
And Wes Studi played the
Wes Studi.
Yeah. I've seen clips of it.
And Daniel Day-Lewis before his Oscar wins. When he was just first making his bones.
He plays a great bad guy. That guy.
That guy.
Daniel Day?
Yeah. Daniel
No.
Day-Lewis.
Wes Studi.
Yeah.
Wes
Yeah.
Studi. Yeah.
God, he plays such a bad guy. I've
He
seen
does-
him play some good guy roles too, but I mean, he just plays the best, and you root for the guy. It's like I do. I see him in that movie. I was like, yeah, he's gonna kill that bastard. He deserves it. Get him.
Well, he played Geronimo in a movie, and it was really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that guy? He was not an actor to start out with. He was just an Indian rights activist.
Yes.
And he became, I don't know how he fell into it, but he got an acting gig or something, or I don't know what the hell, but
And he's been awarded a Lifetime Achievement Oscar. He's the first Native American ever to win have an Oscar.
Yeah, nice.
I don't think that was too long ago either. Was
it wasn't too long ago. It was like
by the way, the crying Indian. By the way, the
Oh,
crying Indian wasn't an Indian.
No.
Iron Eyes Cody? What?
No.
Iron Eyes Cody is not an Indian. No.
What? He wasn't Native American? What the hell? Where was he from?
He's Hispanic.
Yeah.
What? What?
Look it up. Look it up. Was not
just an
Native
actor?
American.
He was just an actor.
Yep. Just
Well, he's
an
a good actor.
And
Graham
the
Greene's, First
chick,
Nations.
well, the chick that got the Oscar for what's his name? The fat actor. No. what is his
Arbuckle?
name? No. Apocalypse Now. Stella. Streetcar Named Desire.
Brando.
Marlon Brando. Yeah.
I could have been a contender.
Yeah, he was supposed to get an Oscar, and he sent this chick, this Indian chick, and she like showed up on his behalf. It's one of the first times that ever happened where an actor made a political statement.
Nice.
So he's he's the grandfather of that, and it turns out that
baby.
chick wasn't an Indian either.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's all virtue signaling. It's all virtue.
This is an ugly term, fat.
Yes.
There you go. But yeah. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up and kind of holding my hand. It's been a very rough day. So
It's been a rough
appreciate
day.
it. Yeah, been a rough week. But anyway,
That's why there's beer, Bunny. Beer.
yeah. I don't drink, unfortunately.
Damn it.
I wish I did. I wish I did.
Captain in the chat says, "You're a delivery boy sent by grocery clerks to collect the bill." It's a quote.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right.
I don't know where that's from, but
that sounds familiar.
probably
Yeah.
The Godfather. I don't know.
I'm not familiar with that.
Probably.
Anyway, it must be a Brando line. I don't know.
Brando. Yeah. Stella.
Never got it. Never got that guy. Never understood
Oh
the appeal. Anyway, thank you guys for coming, and we will see you next time. Go ahead.
Apocalypse Now, Captain.
Apocalypse Now. Oh, okay.
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, no.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory.
Hey, Robert Duvall. Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. Anyway, thank you guys for coming, and we will see you next time.
Hey, everybody in the
here on
chat,
50
thanks
Cent
for being
Conspiracies.
here. Love you guys in the chat.
Anybody got anybody got an idea for next time?
Snallygaster.
What the hell that?
That's from Appalachia.
Oh, Jesus
Ah.
Christ. Here we
Yeah,
go.
okay,
Snallygaster.
Obscure
Is
cryptid
it
no one
real
knows
or
anything about.
not?
So that's a no. That's a no. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Nothing
All right.
What the hell that is.
All right. We'll figure
It out. We'll see you next
Figure it out.
week.
Or we
Have
won't.
a good-
I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, we want. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.